Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. It's 2016. Sanders is kicking ass. The man who was not inevitable by any means is asserting himself. He's asserting his worth in being in that contest, the Democratic primaries. The woman who was supposed to be inevitable is losing one state after the next. Part of her problem is this idea of trust. Do you trust Hillary Clinton? Most people would say, fuck, no. That's a problem. That's a big problem. Now, highlighting this issue of trust is also an FBI criminal investigation involving emails. Emails that she considered to be a minor issue. State secrets is not so much a minor issue. Now, you will hear me be on powerful WikiLeaks and this idea of whistleblowers. But those things are when government is doing something, waste, fraud, abuse, or the government is doing something that it has no business doing. In this particular case, we have a woman who is just being pretty, let's say, flippant about state secrets. That's not her releasing information for the benefit of the country. That's her just being bad with keeping her stuff secret. So much so she was having that information on her own email server. You can see this is a problem if you're the United States government and you have things that you consider to be immensely top secret. The last thing you want is Hillary Clinton's server. The person who's handling her server is the last line of defense. That's not what you want. So the question that hangs over her is she going to be indicted? Is FBI Director Comey going to push for an indictment? Meaning this investigation is looking into what she was doing. Now, here's the catch. Comey comes out months after, but as a Sanders supporter, you were hoping, clinging to hope that Comey will come out and say, yes, we're going to indict her. Because that would automatically almost take her out the race. We were hoping for it, praying for it. It's not right to wish somebody federal prison. But I got to be honest, in that one specific instance, I kind of did. Now, the person who was ultimately in charge of that decision, though, was Loretta Lynch. Yes, Comey came out later. Yes, Comey essentially said, yes, she lied. Yes, there were a bunch of emails that she did bad things to, but no, we can't make a case on it. That's what he came out with. Now, that's the worst of both worlds for you in many respects. No, you're not necessarily saying you're going to indict her from a federal government standpoint, but yes, you've kind of condemned her in the public eye. You can see this being a problem in regards to a candidate being in an election. Now, here's the catch, though. Certainly, you can see another problem with this. Obama appointed Hillary Clinton to be Secretary of State. Obama appointed Loretta Lynch, the person who was appointed by Obama, who, I'm making this point of collusion. There's a direct line from the influence of what the president can bear on making a decision on whether or not they indict someone. Would the president, who put Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State, put somebody in who would go after Hillary Clinton, the person who he put in as Secretary of State? Now, let's take it to another level. Would the person that he put in understand his wishes? Whether Hillary Clinton was up for that indictment or investigation or not at the time he appointed her is irrelevant. Do you believe that Loretta Lynch will be unclear of what President Obama wants? Do you believe that Obama will put somebody in that particular position who will be unclear on what Obama wants? Do you believe that the person who will be appointed into the Attorney General's position in and of itself, being a Democrat, would go after another Democrat? So you can understand why people looked at this and said, hey man, this looks a little sketchy. I mean, if Loretta Lynch is going to get the last say in this looks a little sketchy to us. This looks a little sketchy. Take it to another level. You're Comey. You know what your boss wants. You are perfectly clear what your boss wants. To make it more fundamentally clear, the husband of the person being investigated, President Bill Clinton, or I should say former President Bill Clinton, meets your boss, Loretta Lynch, on the runway. And they talk about cats. They talk about cats. They talk about knitting and cats. That's what we're supposed to believe. His wife is potentially going to be indicted by the FBI. His wife, who's running for president and has screamed into every mic that anybody could find that she was the inevitable candidate. Everybody understood it to be inevitable. In fact, she didn't have to scream it. Everybody understood it. They understood it on a subconscious level. They understood it. Hillary Clinton's next. She is inevitable. What happens when this inevitable woman goes to prison? Bill Clinton goes up there, has a conversation with Loretta Lynch, Attorney General, the person who's going to be in charge of making a decision ultimately on whether or not the U.S. government is going to indict his wife. He comes out. We talked about cats. We didn't talk about anything. I asked about her grandkids. Mr. President, is it possible that you talked to her about your wife being indicted? That just seems like such a major topic. That seems like an elephant in the room. Are you saying that didn't come up at all? You just talked about cats? No, sir. I know the law. And so, no, I didn't talk about her because I would have influenced her decision. And I wouldn't do that. I'm Bill Clinton. Do you honestly believe that? Do you honestly believe it? The point I'm getting at is, when Comey gave his testimony, and Comey said, I was uncomfortable with what took place. And I was told to match my rhetoric in regards to how I talk about this indictment, or this potential indictment, with Hillary Clinton's campaign. You can see that's problematic, right? It makes it look like one of the campaigns is having some level of influence over the FBI. This comes out today. Senators investigate whether Loretta Lynch tried to stifle Clinton email probe. This is the USA Today. Now, in one of my other videos, I'm screaming into the mic, get her ass before Congress. Get her ass before Congress. Something to that effect. Saying that this is a mind-blowing revelation. That one of the campaigns, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, are two corporations. That's what they are. They're making a decision on who should ride the bus. Anybody can form a corporation and make the decision on who they want to ride the bus if you can get the public appeal. The edifice itself is government. The institutions themselves are institutions of government. A corporation, the Democratic Party, should in no way have any influence whatsoever over the decisions of the FBI. That corporation was not in power, meaning the Hillary Clinton campaign was not in power. She was vying for that office in the same way that Donald Trump was vying for that office. If that luxury wasn't afforded to Donald Trump, that luxury shouldn't have been afforded to Hillary Clinton. That's my point. If you're pushing a campaign, or if you're pushing the FBI, this edifice of government, to do something to benefit one of the other candidates, that's cheating. That's cheating. Not just cheating. It's corrupting the office of the FBI. It's corrupting the office of the Attorney General. And it makes it look as if they have it out for one side. I'd argue they did have it out for one side, meaning protecting Hillary Clinton's ass. Senate Judiciary Committee leaders said Friday they're seeking information about former Attorney General Loretta Lynch's alleged efforts to stifle the FBI investigation of Hillary Clinton for her use of a private email server while Clinton was Secretary of State. A spokesman for Loretta Lynch said, the former Attorney General, I will cooperate fully with this inquiry and respond directly to the Senate Judiciary Committee. Of course she's going to say that. Anything else looks like she's hiding. She has no choice but to compel to do so. Meaning, there's some things that from the standpoint of the board itself, the chessboard, you're compelled to do. If you put me in check, I need to protect my king. I need to do something. I'm compelled in that particular action to perform some way. In this particular case, the compulsion comes from this idea of I have nothing to hide. If I do something to pretend like I have something to hide, even though I may not have nothing to hide, I can't give the appearance of having something to hide. Like I'm trying to make this point of, there's some things in life that you're compelled to do just by the perspective. The reality of it becomes less important than their perspective. In this particular case, from the perspective of the people who are looking at her, if she does anything that makes it look like she's hiding, well, they're going to think she's hiding something. So yes, she's going to get her ass in front of that committee. Now, for a little bit more context, though, let's be honest. The Republican Party is doing this because they want to bring up the email thing. They would rather talk about that than Russia. And I have to be honest, though. When they said that, when Comey got on there and said, yes, I was mending my language for the campaign, that's mind-blowing. You would think that would have been on the top of every news story. One of the campaigns was influencing the FBI, because that's what you're talking about. And if Loretta Lynch is pushing him for that, was she pushing him for other things that Comey just doesn't want to talk about? You see the problem here. You see the problem. There's some level of collusion. Yes, they have to drag her in front of the thing because they need to ask her tough questions about what took place. Why were you pushing Comey? What else did you say to Comey? Did you push Comey in any way whatsoever to come out with his influence in regards to his decision on this matter? What did you and Bill Clinton talk about when you were on the tarmac? Those are going to be the questions that's going to come up. The committee in the statement released Friday by Grassley and Graham cited an April story by the New York Times reporting that FBI came into possession of a batch of hacked documents, including one authored by the Democratic operative who expressed confidence that Ms. Lynch will keep the Clinton investigation from going too far. After reading that story, Grassley requested a copy of the document from the Justice Department, which he said never responded. A month later, the Washington Post reported that the email had been sent by Deborah Wasserman Schultz. You don't say. In her former role as chairwoman of the Democratic National Committee, and Leonard Bernardo of Open Society Foundation, an international grant-making foundation founded by the Democratic mega donor and businessman George Soros. That email, I don't even like to say his name because people saw it. Conspiracy theorists go nuts on George Soros. The email, according to the Post, indicated that Lynch had privately assured Clinton campaign staffer Amanda Returner that the FBI's investigation wouldn't go too far. Comey was reportedly concerned that the communication would raise doubts about the investigation's independence and began discussing plans to announce the end of the Clinton email investigation rather than simply referring it to the Department of Justice for a prosecutorial decision. The committee statement said, Comey's extraordinary action to announce the end of the investigation was a break from Judicial Justice Department protocol and was later cited as justification by the White House for his removal of the FBI. The important part here that's somewhat mind-blowing is the committee in a statement released Friday by Grassley and Graham cited an April story by the New York Times reporting that FBI came into possession of a batch of hacked documents, including one authored by a Democratic operative who expressed confidence that Ms. Lynch would keep the Clinton investigation from going too far. That's amazing. That's amazing. And let's read the second one because this is also more mind-blowing. A month later, the Washington Post reported the email had been sent by Deborah Wasserman Schultz in her former role as chairwoman of the Democratic National Committee. The email, according to the Post, indicated that Lynch had privately assured Clinton campaign staffer Amanda Returner that the FBI's investigation wouldn't go too far. That is amazing. That is amazing. That is literal collusion with one of the campaigns. That's cheating. Not only did they cheat in the primaries, they were also cheating in the general election. Meaning that it's very well possible that if you had somebody who was somewhat of an independent doing that investigation, Clinton's ass would have been in prison. Not just that. It's possible that if a person was doing an honest investigation that wasn't getting heat from the attorney general that seemed to be in the bag for the Democratic Party, that it's possible they would have released this during the Sanders campaign. Meaning you would have a President Sanders right now, as opposed to President Trump. Get her ass in front of that Senate committee and ask her difficult and hard questions. That's what I would say. That's what I would say. Ask her tough questions. Yeah, you may bring up the stuff about Comey, but ultimately the questions that you want to ask revolve around the email server. What did you and Bill Clinton said? What was the relationship between Loretta Lynch and the Clinton campaign? Why was the language melded to benefit the Clinton campaign when they were talking about the investigation? And why are you saying that Hillary Clinton you weren't going to bring the case, even though for the most part you would also own up to the fact that on the elements she was guilty? I'll leave it at that. I'm finding this to be just a mind-blowing article in general. One of the campaigns literally was pushing to get a specific candidate in that office. The FBI is supposed to be neutral. The Attorney General is supposed to be neutral. Yes, you work at the behest of the president, but ultimately, you're not supposed to get involved in this party politics stuff. But that is exactly what took place. They didn't just cheat in the primaries. They also tried to cheat in the general and they still lost. They still lost. They lost everything. They lost everything. They deserve to lose everything. Get her ass in front of that judiciary. And yes, it should be a Republican majority answering those questions. Because certainly a Democratic majority can't be trusted to investigate themselves. And no, I don't want to trust the Republicans to do the investigations themselves. Yes, this is a witch hunt for them. Yes, they want to talk about anything other than the emails. Yes, they're doing this to some degree to make hay. And if they can bring up anything about Hillary Clinton, they want to bring it up. They want something else in the press other than Trump and Russia. It makes them look bad. Yes. It doesn't mean there's not meat on this bone, though. It doesn't mean there's not meat on this bone. So I'll leave it at that. All right, guys, if you enjoy the content, feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support the work through Patreon. Thank you.